So, Lieutenant Governor, what do you think about the tactic here? I believe that the Attorney General threw the first punch at you. Were you ever going to attack, or was this something that you expected? And what did you think of the debate tonight?
Well, no, I'm a business person. I'm a mom. I'm gonna defend myself. I have 3 older brothers, right? So I'm used to being picked on. And I'm used to saying what I mean back. But no, and I thought, it was really, it even shocked me when they asked to give one positive comment, and he had to snip back with something so petty. I truly was sincere when I thanked him for his service, and as I do all veterans every time I see them. So it was a little shocking.
Lieutenant Governor, what did you think about how you did on the final debate, and what did you think about the crowd being so vocal tonight? We heard a lot on both sides coming from.
Well, I think that's the spunk of a debate, right? In the second debate that I took part in, there were a lot of people shouting and yelling. It's just part of it. You tune it out, you stick with your core, you answer the questions, and that's what I did tonight.
Lieutenant Governor, when I asked Mr. Wilson this question, he said he was a battle-tested veteran and said that you did not have the experience, the battle experience to lead this state. I asked him, what makes you 2 different Republicans, given the fact that you operate in the same party?
Well, I think it was very clear tonight, like it has been through this entire campaign. The voters of South Carolina will pick from a Trump-endorsed conservative businesswoman or a career politician. And I have been battle tested. I started a business from an office in my home. I grew it into a national company. I was a CEO in the private sector, and I've sat at the right hand of the governor now for 8 years. I have watched how to do the business of this executive branch. And on day one, I'll be ready to fight for the people of South Carolina. I know exactly what to do. And I know the first thing I'm going to do is eliminate state income tax so we can put more money back in their pocket.
And a follow-up, if I may. There was talk in Washington today, one report out of one newspaper that said President Trump is considering a dual endorsement, meaning endorsement of you, which he's already given, but also a possible endorsement of Mr. Wilson. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I know the president. President called me last Tuesday after the primary, and he said, I'm so proud of you. You're going to win this runoff. You're going to win it big, and you and I are going to do it together, Pamela. And so, campaigns spin all kinds of stories that they want to do. But I think after the president sees tonight's debate, he's going to know 100% he made the right choice.
Lieutenant Governor, just wanted to ask you, the Scott Spivey's become a sort of a big part of your campaign. We heard a lot of stuff Spivey chants tonight in the audience. I don't know if you heard them from the stage. Jennifer Foley was just out here. Stephen Federico was outside earlier endorsing Mr. Wilson. I'm just wondering, what's the effectiveness of those kind of endorsements for your campaign?
Well, I quietly listened to the Spivey family. They asked for an audience with me months and months ago. I never talked about them coming to visit me. But as a mom, my heart broke. My heart broke for that family, and I just hope that they get the justice that they're seeking. They didn't find that justice in the Attorney General's office, and I'm hoping they find it now, sitting up in the Spartanburg Circuit, and in the civil case that they brought.
If you become governor, is there something you can do would you sort of relook into opening that case, or what's your position on that?
Well, that has to go through other channels. The governor can't just say, open a case. But I would, as governor, make sure that justice is being delivered fairly and equally across the board. And that's what the people of South Carolina want. That's why justice reform, judicial reform is such a big thing for everybody. We need judges who won't plea down cases. We need prosecutors who are willing to prosecute. We cannot continue to have these watered down plea deals that puts pedophiles back on the street, that allows murderers to go free too quickly. I mean, people are afraid. I'm a mom. First and foremost, best title I've ever had is being a mom. And every day I want to save South Carolina for my children.
You mentioned earlier income tax would be the first thing you want to put out if you were elected. You saw how difficult that ended up being quickly in this session and the situation of it being a legislative matter. You were also in the office with Master for 8 years, seeing how much his executive budgets didn't really reflect what the actual Senate Finance Committee and all that went through. What makes you think you can mold over those folks who've been in there for so long to kind of go toward what you want to see the state be, making tax and property tax and other processes?
Business people don't bowl people over. What they do is they work with people. And for 8 years, I've gained the respect of the people in the General Assembly. I've worked with them to get legislation passed. I've worked with them to let them know what's important to the governor, and I've listened to what's important to them. And that's how good government works. We've had opponents in this race talked about just going in there and beating them up. Yesterday, the Attorney General, Ralph Norman, standing together to talk about going after people in the General Assembly. I don't think that's the role of a governor. I think that's the role of voters to put who they want in place. The role of the governor is to work with whoever voters put there. And I fully intend to work with them. We'll get our state income tax eliminated, and we'll do it working together, because that's the one thing I learned from Governor McMaster. Cooperation, communication, and collaboration gets a lot of things done.
Lieutenant Governor, you haven't attended all the previous debates. Why did you think it was necessary to be here tonight?
Well, I said it from the beginning. I'm not a career politician. My opponent is a career politician, and they run campaigns their way. I picked a team that I'm very proud of. I'm a business person, and I feel more comfortable going out to the people. Before I get out the vote tour, I had my staff add up all the stops we've made, over 200 stops, meet and greets, round tables, meeting with voters, shaking their hands, hearing from them what's most important. I've done over 300 touches with media, whether it be on Zoom with national media or with all of you or on the radio. I've not been afraid. I've answered every single question, but I think I best serve the people of South Carolina when I'm with them, hearing from them, instead of being on a stage with a bunch of career politicians who just want to yip and yap and 1-minute sound bites.
Lastly, for folks who are going to early voting tomorrow, the situation is it's going to be your name on the ballot. But unfortunately, if you are elected in certain time goes by and then you have to take out of office and the lieutenant governor comes in, do you think it's not important that folks who are voting tomorrow also know who your number 2 is going to be?
So let me tell you this. I've always said from the beginning that I was going to win this primary and then I was going to pick my lieutenant governor. It's been done in the presidential races since the beginning of time. And everybody seems okay with that. But within the next 48 hours, I promised the people of South Carolina that I will put out a list. And those are going to be in my choices. President Trump did this when he was talking about Supreme Court justices and said one of the people on that list will be my lieutenant governor. And let me tell you, that person is going to be a rock-solid conservative, somebody that has business acumen so they can work hand in glove with me like I did with the governor, and somebody that holds a strong Christian moral value.